shall fashion glaciers into greenness and harvest April rivers in the autumn. And the quote to me is relevant to the history of how, not only in Colorado, but across the Western United States, we've enabled ourselves to thrive in a semi-arid landscape that is water scarce. And what we're seeing now in the context of this history and all the infrastructure that we've built to provide water for people in Colorado is that as the climate changes, the methods that we use to manage that infrastructure and to bring water to people is becoming less and less efficient, and water is becoming more and more scarce. And I myself work on new technologies for mapping snowpack, providing better estimates of that water supply so that the people who manage that infrastructure can bring water to cities, to farms, to hydropower plants, and to industry in the most efficient way possible. And so that's a little bit on the scientific background and that through a historical lens.
I hope you'll forgive me, I'm gonna rely on my writing here. For the past 2 winters, I've studied the connection between 10 Mile Creek and Dillon Reservoir in Frisco, Colorado. In winter, I stood at the edges of the frozen banks and I witnessed the different currents against the softness of fresh snow or the sharpness of a freeze. In spring, the silent dark current transformed into an eager, loud, and racing force. This return to place nurtured a deep connection to the water and the creek feeding Dillon Reservoir. I've lived in a mountain community tethered to water and weather. Snow accumulation dictates the ski season and the local economy. And yet, I knew a shockingly limited amount of water management. I was concerned about my own, as well as a collective lack of understanding of our dependence on water in this recreational area. I needed to see how water connected urban and rural communities beyond the I-70 corridor. While working with NOAA, talking with people from Denver Water and the Blue River Watershed Group, and continuing to return to those ever-changing edges of 10 Mile Creek, my view of water as this universal connector had to shift to the side. Or maybe it rather expanded to include the tension and the strain that warming winters places on the constructed water diversion system. This frozen ink quilt here is held together with tension that I created. Each square is hand sewn to the next, much like how diversion tunnels connect watersheds. When I tied these stitches off with red quilting thread, water flowed through the constructed seams of our watersheds, through tunnels like the Roberts Tunnel, which eventually reaches the Denver area. Each square here is torn from a larger wash of India ink, of frozen India ink. Each square is shaped by 2 foundational elements in Summit County: snowfall and temperature. When left outside in any weather around freezing, a wet wash of ink on top of a thick paper will freeze and dry. The freezing leaves an ice structure, which you can kind of see in this image, that's specific to the weather in which it was made. So for example, ink and water on paper at 27 degrees will freeze into a very delicate pattern, whereas ink frozen in extreme cold will make more jagged shapes. Stitched together, these icy patterns offer a glimpse of what cold looks like in a community defined by snow. I see each square as a piece of evidence, a pixel of sort that makes up a larger image of understanding. The maps of snowpack used to manage Dillon Reservoir are also made up of pixels generated from measuring snowpack. Hand sewing takes time, and by hand sewing each square pixel into a quilt of frozen moments, I offer time for tenderness, a reverence for 10 Mile Creek and the streams that fill our reservoirs and rivers, a reverence for the slight changes in temperature that turn snow into melt. In this quilt, I offer time with the snow and streams that Noah and I both return to. We need both ways of seeing. We need the reverence for the currents that run through all of us.